To reward assistant Jason Jiang for his outstanding contribution during the Tianshu project, the company has decided to grant him a one-time bonus of 8.6 million yuan. I sat below the stage, listening to Vivian Chen's cold voice echo through the speakers. My fingertips turned colder inch by inch. Thunderous applause filled the hall. Camera flashes went wild, all focused on the perfect pair standing on stage. The man was handsome and polished. The woman was elegant and proud. He was Jason Jiang, the president's assistant. She was Vivian Chen, my boss. 3 days ago, the Tianshu chip patent sold for 3.5 billion yuan. And I, the sole owner of that patent, received one casual sentence, "Good work." And a shopping card worth 2,000 yuan. Jason Jiang? He had only brought me a cup of coffee now and then while I stayed up all night developing the project. After the project succeeded, he helped Vivian organize a few media statements. 8.6 million. 3.5 billion. I lowered my head and laughed silently. A faint taste of rust filled my mouth. I had bitten the inside of my cheek too hard. Engineer Luo, congratulations. The project was a huge success. That's right, Engineer Luo. You're the #1 contributor of our company this time. My co-workers beside me offered hypocritical congratulations. But their eyes kept drifting to the stage with undisguised envy and jealousy. Not toward me. Toward Jason Jiang. I said nothing. Only nodded. The venue was noisy, but I could no longer hear anything. My thoughts drifted back 8 years. Back to that rented room of less than 20 square meters. Vivian and I squeezed beside a pile of instant noodle cups, staring at a second-hand computer, planning the company's future. I said I wanted to build the strongest chip in the country. A chip so powerful no foreign company could ever choke us again. There was light in her eyes. She said, "Good. Adrian Luo, I'll walk with you. You handle technology. I'll handle the market. We are the golden partners." During the first 3 years of entrepreneurship, at the hardest point, I went 3 straight months without salary. Every day, I survived on steamed buns and plain water, working day and night in the laboratory. Vivian was not much better. She drank with clients until her stomach bled and lay alone in the hospital on an 4 drip. She texted me, "Shuyao, hold on a little longer. We're almost there." I replied, "Okay." Later, the company secured its first investment. We moved into a proper office building. Everything seemed to truly get better. When did Jason Jiang appear? Probably when the company began stabilizing and Vivian became more and more like a real female CEO. He graduated from a prestigious university. Spoke 4 languages. Looked more handsome than celebrities. Most importantly, he knew how to speak. Vivian had stomach problems, so he prepared all kinds of stomach-friendly meals for her. Vivian liked classical music, so he could recite every composer's life story fluently. If Vivian frowned, he immediately knew whether she was annoyed by the afternoon meeting or the evening banquet. And me? I only knew how to wear a lab coat stained with machine oil and ask her, "Can we reduce the power consumption of Plan 2 by another 5%? The way she looked at me slowly changed. From admiration and joy in the beginning to impatience. "Adrian Luo, can you stop always talking about things I don't understand? Discuss these technical details with the team. You don't have to report every little thing to me. You're a technical genius, but you really don't understand company operations. Listen to me." Our offices changed from facing each other to being separated by an entire floor. I stayed in the laboratory on the 18th floor. She stayed in the president's office on the 28th floor. Between us stood Jason Jiang. He became our only messenger. All of my reports had to pass through his hands first. He would organize and refine them before placing them on Vivian's desk. I mentioned it to her once. She only said flatly, "I trust Jason's ability. Shuyao, don't overthink things. Focus on your RD." After that, I never brought it up again. I thought that as long as I truly built Tianshu, as long as I truly realized our original dream, everything would return to the beginning. Reality proved I was wrong. After the celebration banquet ended, the crowd gradually dispersed. Like an outsider, I quietly walked to a corner, ready to leave. "Engineer Luo." It was Vivian's voice. I stopped and turned. She was still high above everyone, wearing a perfectly tailored Chanel suit. She looked like a cold white jade statue with no warmth. Jason followed half a step behind her, holding her coat and handbag. His posture was humble, but his eyes carried a faint provocation. "You worked hard today." Vivian's voice held no emotion. "Rest early. The next project will still need you." I looked at her. Not one word came out. My chest felt clogged with soaked cotton. Heavy. Stifling. Hard to breathe. She did not seem to expect an answer. After saying that, she turned to leave. "President Chin." I finally spoke. My voice was so hoarse it did not sound like my own. She paused, turned back, and frowned slightly. "I already have a preliminary design for Tianshu 2. I took a small USB drive from my pocket and handed it to her. Inside it was half a year of my effort. Higher performance than Tianshu. Lower power consumption. Once released, it would be enough to overturn the entire industry." Finally, a ripple appeared in Vivian's eyes. A familiar gleam. The sharp light of a businesswoman. But before she could reach out, Jason beside her smiled first. He stepped forward lightly, blocking the space between Vivian and me without a trace. His tone was gentle, yet forceful in a way that allowed no refusal. "Engineer Luo, you really are dedicated. But President Chin has been tired all day. Why not discuss the project tomorrow during office hours?" As he spoke, he winked at me. His smile carried the smugness of a winner. "President Chin's time is precious. It isn't something any random stray cat or dog can waste. Don't you agree, Engineer Luo?" I looked at him. Then I smiled too. Slowly, I withdrew my hand and spun the USB drive between my fingers. "Assistant Jiang is right. I was being rude. Then I won't disturb President Chin and Assistant Jiang." I turned and walked step by step out of that golden banquet hall that made me suffocate. Behind me, Jason's voice floated over, not loud but not quiet either. "Jiwan, talking to a tech nerd like that is exhausting. He has no sense of timing at all." Vivian did not refute him. I walked out the doors. The late-night wind cut against my face like knives. I clenched the USB drive tightly in my palm. "Vivian Chin. Do you really think I will still let you take whatever you want from me like before? Do you really think you can get another 3.5 billion without me? Just wait. The game has only just begun." The next day, I did not go to the company. I turned off my phone, unplugged the internet cable, and stayed all day in the study filled with models and drawings. I forced myself to review the entire Tianshu project from beginning to end. Every data point. Every line of code. Every failure. Every breakthrough. All those sleepless days and nights. All that exhaustion. All that ecstasy. It was like a grand firework. I burned myself, only to light up someone else. At dusk, the doorbell rang. I did not move. I knew who it was. The bell rang stubbornly for a long time, then stopped. Then came knocking. More and more urgent. "Adrian Luo. Open the door. I know you're inside." It was Vivian. Not the cold, arrogant President Chin. This voice carried impatience and anger. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. She was still dressed like an elite executive, but her hair was slightly messy, and the usual calmness had disappeared from her face. Jason stood half a step behind her, frowning impatiently. "Jiwan, why waste time talking to him? Just have someone break the door open." "Shut up." Vivian turned and snapped at him. Jason's face instantly looked ugly. I opened the door. "What is it?" I leaned against the doorframe and asked lightly. When Vivian saw me, her gaze became complicated. There was anger. Questioning. But more than anything, there was the entitled frustration of someone who felt offended. "Why did you skip work today? You didn't answer my calls. You ignored my messages. What exactly are you trying to do?" I smiled. "President Chin, labor law says I should have the right to rest, doesn't it? Besides," I paused and looked into her eyes. "I already handed you a project worth 3.5 billion. Taking one day off isn't excessive, is it?" The number, 3.5 billion, stabbed her like a needle. Vivian's face paled slightly. Her lips pressed into a stiff line. Jason could no longer hold back. He stepped forward, pointed at my nose, and shouted, "Adrian Luo, watch how you speak to President Chin. Don't forget your identity. You're just an employee. The company gave you a platform and resources. That's why you achieved something. Otherwise, who do you think you are? If Jiwan hadn't been kind enough to pull you out of that broken rented room, you would still be eating instant noodles." I watched him jump around like a monkey. Finished? I asked. Jason froze. If you're finished, get lost. My eyes turned cold. You. Jason's face flushed with anger. He rolled up his sleeves and tried to rush forward. Jason, enough. Vivian stopped him, took a deep breath, and looked back at me. She tried to recover her calmness. Tried to restore the posture of the female CEO who controlled everything. Shuyao, is there some misunderstanding between us? Her voice softened. She even called my name instead of Engineer Luo. I know you contributed a lot to the Tianshu project. The company will not treat you unfairly. Yesterday's celebration had too many people and too many mouths. Some things were inconvenient to announce publicly. I originally planned to talk to you today. She sounded sincere. Emotional. If this had been before, I probably would have believed her. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow. Then how does President Qin plan to reward me? Another 2,000 yuan shopping card? Vivian's face darkened completely. Adrian Luo, don't push your luck. Haven't I been good enough to you? She stepped closer, pressuring me. The apartment you live in was bought by the company. The car you drive was assigned by the company. Your annual R&D budget is over 10 million. Have I ever said no? I gave you the best conditions a technician could ever receive. What else are you dissatisfied with? Her words were knives. Every single one stabbed into my heart. Yet they also made me feel absurdly amused. Good? I repeated the word as if I had heard the world's funniest joke. Vivian Qin, you call that good? The apartment I live in is under the company's name. I only have the right to use it. The car I drive was earned after 5 years of acting as a driver for you and Jason. 10 million in R&D budget? That was the capital you used to exchange for 3.5 billion. Did you think you were doing charity? My voice was not loud, but every word was clear. Vivian was rendered speechless by my questions. Her face shifted between blue and white. Maybe she had never imagined that Adrian Luo, the man who only kept his head down in the lab and obeyed her every word, would speak to her in such a sharp tone. You're unreasonable. She finally squeezed out the sentence through clenched teeth. I'm unreasonable? I sneered. Vivian Qin, the truly unreasonable person is you. You only see what you gave me. You never see what you took from me. You took my effort. My dream. And I stopped. I had wanted to say, and the last little bit of feeling I had for you. But looking at her cold, stunned face, I suddenly felt those words were meaningless. She would not understand. She did not care. Never mind. I waved my hand, suddenly tired. You two can leave. I'm tired. I moved to close the door. Wait. Vivian pressed one hand against the door. Her eyes locked tightly onto mine. Inside them, many complicated emotions surged. Tianshu 2. What exactly do you want to do with it? This was her real purpose today. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. The laugh hurt my chest. So in her heart, all my emotions and resentment were merely bargaining chips to negotiate Tianshu 2. President Qin, what do you think? I asked in return. I worked hard to plant a tree. It bore fruit. You picked it. You ate the meat and didn't even leave me soup. Now I've planted the seed of a second tree. And you still want me to hand it over for free? Do you think anything in this world is that cheap? Vivian's breathing clearly quickened. What do you want? Her voice was dry. Money? Equity? Position? As long as you hand over Tianshu 2, name your price. Finally, she said it. Everything had become a naked transaction. Fine. Trying to talk about feelings with a businesswoman was my own stupidity. My condition is simple. I looked at her and spoke word by word. Jason's ears instantly perked up. Vivian also held her breath. I raised one finger. First. I want Jason Jiang out of the company. Immediately. Right now. The moment I finished, Jason's face changed completely. Adrian Luo, who the hell do you think you are? What right do you have? He exploded like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, pointing at me and cursing. Vivian's brows also tightened. She did not immediately agree. Nor did she immediately refuse. She only looked at me with an assessing gaze. As if measuring the weight of my condition. I ignored Jason's shouting and calmly looked at Vivian. President Qin, my patience is limited. You know very well that you are not the only one who wants to buy Tianshu 2. That sentence was the final straw. Vivian's eyes shrank. She knew too well what Tianshu 2 meant. If it fell into a competitor's hands, it would be a devastating blow to her company. She remained silent for a full half-minute. During that half-minute, the air seemed frozen. Jason also stopped shouting. He stared nervously at Vivian, lips trembling, wanting to speak but not daring. Finally, Vivian slowly spoke. Her voice was as cold as iron. "Fine. Only one word." Jason visibly swayed, all color draining from his face. "Jiwon," he looked at her in disbelief. His voice shook. "You can't treat me like this." Vivian did not look at him. Her gaze remained locked on my face. "Your second condition?" "My second condition," I smiled, opened the door wider, and moved aside. "Come inside first." Vivian hesitated, then stepped in. Jason wanted to follow. I reached out and blocked him. "You can't. You are not welcome here." My tone was flat, but allowed no argument. Jason's eyes reddened. He glared at me, then looked at Vivian, his eyes full of humiliation and pleading. "Jiwon." Vivian finally turned back and looked at him. That gaze was cold and distant in a way I had never seen before. "You go back first," she said. "Tomorrow, go to HR and complete the process. I will have finance give you compensation." After saying that, she did not look at him again. She walked directly into my living room. The door slammed shut behind me, cutting off Jason's desperate, distorted face. The living room fell into a strange silence. Vivian looked around this room she had once known so well. On the wall still hung the blueprint we drew together during the early days. On the shelf still sat the first server model she gave me. Everything here carried traces of our shared past. For a moment, her eyes drifted. But she quickly returned to herself and sat on the sofa, resuming the posture of a female CEO. "Say it. Your second condition." I did not answer immediately. I walked into the kitchen, took 2 cans of beer from the fridge, placed one on the coffee table before her, opened the other, and took a large swallow. The cold liquid slid down my throat, dousing some of the fire in my chest. "Vivian Cheen." I put down the beer can and looked at her. "What is our company's current market value?" She froze slightly, clearly not expecting the question. "Around 50 billion. She still answered honestly. 50 billion. I nodded. 90% of that number is supported by my technology. Correct? Vivian's lips moved. She did not refute it. That was fact. At the beginning, we agreed that I would hold 49% of the shares, and you would hold 51%. But later, for financing and listing, my shares were diluted until only 5% remained. And you, as the company's absolute controller, still firmly hold 30%. These old matters had never been mentioned between us before. I used to think that as long as our hearts were together, it did not matter whose shares were more or less. Now, looking back, it was laughable. "You want equity?" Vivian immediately understood. She even seemed relieved. In her eyes, problems that could be solved with money and shares were not problems. "Fine," she said simply. "How much do you want?" Of the personal shares in my hands, aside from those distributed to other shareholders and executives, I can give you half. It was indeed a very generous offer. Based on current valuation, those shares were worth several billions. She thought I would be stunned by the number. She thought I had made such a scene and planned so much only for money. Looking at her, I suddenly felt sad. For her. And for myself. "Vivian Cheen, do you really think everything I'm doing is just for money?" Her face showed that familiar impatience again. "Adrian Luo, can we stop talking about empty things? We are business people. When we do business, talk business. Don't talk feelings. Just say what you want. Or what else you want." Every word of hers cut my heart. "Fine. Since you only want to talk business. Then I will talk business properly. My second condition is very simple." I bent down, both hands pressed on the coffee table, looking at her at eye level. The distance between us was less than half a meter. I could clearly see the guard and distance in her eyes. "I want you, Vivian Cheen, to apologize to me in your own name." I said. "Apologize for 8 years of looking down on me, ignoring me, and taking from me as if it were natural. Apologize for treating my life's work as the prize you gave to someone else. Apologize for turning our shared dream into your personal fame show." Vivian's pupils suddenly shrank. She clearly had not expected me to make such a demand. Make her the high and mighty President Chin apologize to me, a mere employee? To her, that was harder than cutting flesh. Her face turned iron blue at visible speed. Adrian Luo, don't go too far. Too far? I straightened and laughed. President Chin, have you forgotten something? I am the one holding Tianshu 2 now. You are the one asking me for it. Do you think you still have the right to bargain with me? I walked to the window and opened the curtains. Downstairs, Jason's flashy red sports car was still parked there. He himself leaned against the door like a stray dog, smoking one cigarette after another. Apologize. Or I sell Tianshu 2 to your mortal enemy, Starseed Technology, right now. Choose. Vivian's body froze on the sofa. Her hands on her knees clenched into fists, knuckles white. I knew how humiliating this choice was for her. But so what? The grievances I had suffered over the years were far more than this. Time passed second by second. The living room was so quiet I could hear our breathing. I was patient. I knew she would choose. Because she was a businesswoman. She would make the choice most beneficial to herself. After a long time, I heard a voice behind me, suppressed to the extreme, squeezed from between her teeth. I'm sorry. Those 2 words were light, like feathers falling to the floor. Yet they weighed 1,000 pounds, crushing Vivian's shoulders downward. She thought she would be angry. Thought she would slam the door and leave. But she did not. She only sat there quietly, like a porcelain figure on the verge of cracking. I looked at her. My heart did not ripple. This apology came too late. And was too cheap. I heard it. I picked up the beer again and drank. The cold liquid made me even clearer. And then, President Chin. My tone was flat, unreadable. Vivian suddenly lifted her head. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Adrian Luo, what else do you want? Her voice trembled. I already apologized. Apologized? I laughed. The sound was especially piercing in the empty living room. President Chin, don't misunderstand. I asked you to apologize not because I wanted an outcome. I only wanted you to personally experience what it means to have no control. What it means when circumstances are stronger than a person. That feeling doesn't feel good, does it? I watched her face shift from iron blue to pale. She pointed at me, lips trembling, unable to speak. I did not look at her again. Instead, I walked to the window and looked down at that lonely figure below. Jason still had not left. He was probably still fantasizing that his Jiwan would come down, comfort him, and tell him everything was only temporary. Ridiculous. Look at him. Doesn't he look like a dog? I said softly. Vivian looked down following my gaze. Her body stiffened slightly. You spent 8.6 million buying his loyalty. Buying his thoughtfulness. Buying his wagging tail before you. Now you don't need him anymore, so you kicked him away. Vivian Chin, you taught me one lesson. I turned and looked at her again, my eyes without warmth. In this world, everything can be a transaction. Feelings, loyalty, dignity, all can be priced and placed on a shelf. If that is the case, we should settle the accounts between us too. Vivian's breathing grew heavy. Her chest rose and fell violently. She seemed to sense something. Her eyes filled with guard and unease. My third condition. I raised 3 fingers. And the final one. After this, our business will be concluded. Her body tightened like a drawn bow. All pretense and pride vanished in that moment. Only raw nervousness remained. I will not hand Tianshu 2 to the company. I said. The sentence exploded beside Vivian's ears like thunder. What did you say? She shot up from the sofa so quickly that her knee hit the edge of the coffee table with a dull sound. She seemed not to feel pain. She only stared at me. Say it again. I said, I repeated clearly, word by word. The ownership of Tianshu 2 belongs to me personally. And every future iterative product and patent based on the Tianshu architecture will belong to me personally. Vivian's face lost all blood. She looked as if she had heard a fantasy. Absurdity and fury filled her eyes. Adrian Luo. Are you insane? Do you know what you're saying? You want to hollow out the company's core technology. You want to destroy this company? Our 8 years of hard work. Finally, she said, our. How ironic. No, I shook my head and corrected her. Not our. Yours. You destroyed our company and built your own commercial empire. I'm not trying to destroy it. I just don't want to keep making wedding clothes for you. I walked to her and looked at the woman I once admired, adored, and even loved. Vivian Cheen, didn't you like talking business? Then let's discuss this in the purest business model. From today on, I, Adrian Luo, am the technology supplier. Your company is my client. If you want to use Tianshu 2, you can. Pay to license it. Global exclusive licensing fee or a sales-based royalty. Either is fine. We can hire professional teams to negotiate the price. I will no longer be your employee. And do not think you can still be my boss. We are equal parties in a contract. The living room was dead silent. Vivian stood there blankly, like a statue whose soul had been pulled out. She looked at me. Shock. Anger. Humiliation. Unwillingness. In the end, all of it became gray defeat. She had probably imagined every possible demand. Money. Shares. A high position. But she never imagined I would choose to pull the foundation from beneath her feet. That I would cut off every binding tie between us and stand in a position where she needed to look up at me to negotiate. You're dreaming. After a very long time, she squeezed the words through her teeth. Her body trembled not from fear, but from extreme anger. Adrian Luo, without the company's platform, without hundreds of millions in funding, do you think your technology can become a product? Can you fight the whole market alone? You're too naive. Is that so? I shrugged indifferently. Maybe. But I have to try. Besides, my tone shifted, and a cold curve formed on my lips. You are not the only buyer. Mr. Zhao from Starseed Technology wanted to invite me for dinner last week. I think he should be very interested in Tianshu too. You know, 3 years ago, he offered me a price I could hardly refuse. I refused him then because I thought this place was my home. Now it seems I was mistaken. Starseed Technology was Vivian's greatest competitor. Mr. Zhao was the enemy she hated most. Every word I said was a precise blade cutting into her heart. I watched her face turn ghastly pale. I knew I had won. Completely. I'll give you 24 hours. I gave the final ultimatum. If you do not come to me by this time tomorrow, I will contact Mr. Zhao myself. When that happens, what we discuss may no longer be technology licensing. It may be a full acquisition. I finished and opened the door. President Cheen, please. I'm done. Vivian's body shook violently. She did not look at me. Did not say another word. Like a puppet pulled by strings, she stiffly walked out of this room that had once carried all our dreams and beginnings. At the moment she stepped through the door, I saw her back look more humiliated than ever before. I closed the door and leaned against it, letting out a long, turbid breath. The suffocating resentment that had filled my chest for 8 years finally found a place to pour out. Outside the window, Jason's red sports car roared and shot away like an arrow. A new era had begun. And this time, the rules would be written by me. The next day, I slept until I woke naturally. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, leaving mottled shadows on the floor. I did not rush to check my phone. Instead, I calmly made myself a rich breakfast. A perfectly fried runny egg. Crisp toast. A cup of freshly ground black coffee. It had been a long time since I was this relaxed. For the past 8 years, my life had been filled with the laboratory, code, and endless meetings. Breakfast was usually instant coffee and 2 biscuits. After breakfast, I finally picked up my phone. Dozens of missed calls. Hundreds of unread messages. Company executives. RD team members. Even some so-called friends, who had not contacted me in years. Without exception, all were trying to gather information or persuade me. I did not read any. I cleared them all. Finally, I opened Vivian's chat. She had not called me. Only sent one message at 3 a.m. very short. 5 words. Do you really have to do this? Looking at those words, I could imagine how much struggle and unwillingness she felt when typing them. I did not reply. Instead, I opened my contacts and found a number saved long ago but never dialed. Starseed Technology, Victor Zhao. I called directly. The phone rang 3 times before being answered. A hearty, steady male voice came through. Hello, who is this? Mr. Zhao, it's me, Adrian Luo. The other end paused clearly. Then came uncontrollable surprise. Engineer Luo? Is it really you? What a rare guest. Did the sun rise from the west today? Why would you suddenly think to call me? Mr. Zhao, long time no see. I smiled. 3 years ago, you said you wanted to invite me for tea. I wonder if that still counts. Of course it counts. Don't mention tea. Even Mao Tai is fine. Victor Zhao's voice was full of excitement. Engineer Luo, you choose the place. I'll be there immediately. No need for trouble. I said. In half an hour, I'll be downstairs at your company. Good, good. I'll personally come down to receive you. After hanging up, I changed into clean casual clothes, took my car keys, and left. I did not go meet Victor Zhao. I only drove to a CAF downstairs from his company, ordered a coffee, and sat by the window. From this seat, I could clearly see the entrance of Starcy Technology. I was gambling. Gambling that Vivian would send someone to watch me. Sure enough, less than 10 minutes later, a black Mercedes business van quietly stopped across the street. The windows were tinted dark. I could not see inside. But I knew. That was Vivian's car. I ignored it. I only slowly drank my coffee and browsed the news on my phone. Time passed second by second. Half an hour later, a small commotion appeared at the entrance of Starcy Technology. Victor Zhao came out with several executives and personally stood at the door, frequently looking outward. He was clearly waiting for someone important. The atmosphere inside the Mercedes across the road must have been extremely tense. The smile on my lips deepened. Vivian Qin. Do you think I truly plan to sell Tianshu 2 to Victor Zhao? No. My cooperation with him would only be harsher than with you. The reason I came here was simply to show you one thing. I have many choices. You have only one. Another 10 minutes passed. Victor Zhao seemed unable to wait anymore. He took out his phone and called. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I did not answer. I only took it out, placed it on the table, and let it buzz. On the screen, the name, Victor Zhao, was clearly visible. I was certain that the people inside the car across the road could see it clearly through binoculars. I wanted them to see. See Victor Zhao's eagerness. See my indifference. This was psychological warfare. Vivian Qin taught me that. The market is a battlefield. Intelligence and psychological pressure sometimes matter more than technology itself. The call finally stopped. Immediately after, my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID was Vivian Qin. I answered. Where are you? Her voice was hoarse and tired, yet carried uncontrollable urgency. Drinking coffee. I said lightly. With whom? She pressed. An old friend. On the other end, there was long silence. I could hear her heavy breathing, as if she was trying hard to restrain something. Come back. In the end, she said only 2 words. Not like an order. More like a compromise. Fine. I said. In 1 hour, come to my home to talk. After hanging up, I sent Victor Zhao a message. Mr. Zhao, something urgent came up. I'm afraid I can't meet today. Another day, I'll host you for tea. His reply came quickly. Engineer Luo, no worries. Handle your business first. I'm available anytime. Waiting for your call. I smiled, put down my phone, finished the last sip of coffee, stood, paid, and left. From beginning to end, I did not glance at the black Mercedes. But I knew the person inside had watched every move I made. From this moment on, the initiative had truly returned to my hands. When I returned home, I did not rush to clean up. The room remained exactly as it had last night. On the coffee table were 2 beer cans. One empty. One untouched. I threw mine into the trash. Then put Vivian's unopened can back into the fridge. 1 hour later, the doorbell rang on time. I opened the door. Only Vivian stood outside. She had changed clothes. No longer in a sharp business suit. Instead, she wore a beige cashmere sweater and trousers. Light makeup could not hide the exhaustion and bloodshot eyes on her face. She no longer looked like a high and mighty female CEO. Instead, there was a trace of fragility. Come in. I stepped aside. She entered. Her eyes instinctively swept across the living room. When she saw the coffee table had been cleaned, her gaze dimmed for an almost invisible moment. Sit. I said. She sat in the same spot as last night. Both hands rested on her knees. Her posture looked somewhat uneasy. This was nothing like the Vivian Qin in my memory, who was always calm and confident. Have you considered my conditions? I went straight to the point. I did not want to waste more time. Vivian lifted her head and looked at me deeply. Her eyes were complicated, unwilling, struggling, and something I could not understand. Shuyao. Her voice was hoarse. Must it be like this? Can't we be like before? She was trying to play the emotion card again. Unfortunately, I no longer accepted it. President Qin. I deliberately emphasized the title. Let's talk about something practical. My 3 conditions. Do you accept them? Vivian's body trembled slightly. She closed her eyes. As if using every bit of strength in her body, she forced a weak sound from her throat. I accept. I accept. Those 3 words were extremely difficult for Vivian to say. As if they had been torn from her chest with blood and unwillingness. I looked at her. But there was none of the satisfaction I had imagined. Only wasteland. Once, we stood together for a shared dream. Now, we were like 2 calculating opponents, pushing each other step by step at a negotiation table. Good. I nodded and went to the study, taking out the documents I had prepared. 2 copies. One was the letter of intent for technology licensing. The other was the non-compete release agreement. I pushed both documents before her. Verbal promises are useless. Write it in black and white. Only then does it count. I placed a pen beside the documents. Vivian's gaze landed on the licensing letter. When she saw the clauses about licensing fees and profit sharing, her pupils shrank violently again. 30%. She cried out and looked up at me, fury in her eyes. Adrian Luo, this is robbery. According to my terms, from now on, every product using Tianshu 2 and its subsequent technology would pay 30% of sales profit directly to me personally. This was not licensing. It was cutting flesh. For a technology company, after R&D and market costs are spread out, a net profit of 20% is already excellent. My cut directly took the largest piece of the company's cake. Even more than what she, the largest shareholder, would receive. Robbery? I laughed and leaned back against the sofa, arms crossed, watching her calmly. President Qin, you can eat nonsense, but don't speak nonsense. This is called technology contribution. Perfectly justified. You use my technology to earn 100 yuan and give me 30. Is that excessive? Without my technology, you would not even earn that 100. Besides, I paused, my gaze becoming playful. Yesterday, Mr. Zhao from Star C said that if I nodded, he would split it 50-50 with me. Vivian's face instantly turned deathly pale. Of course she knew I was asking an outrageous price. But she also knew that as long as Victor Zhao was not stupid, he would absolutely pay more than her to recruit me. She had no choice. Her hand trembled. She picked up the pen. The tip hovered above the paper for a long time but could not fall. Every stroke was like cutting her own flesh. What's wrong? Is President Qin reluctant? I raised an eyebrow. Then forget it. I'll call Mr. Zhao now. I think he would be very happy to. I'll sign. Vivian almost roared those words. She no longer hesitated. Grabbing the pen, she signed her name swiftly at the end of the intent letter. The force was so heavy it almost tore through the paper. After signing one document, she picked up the other. The non-compete release agreement was simple. It stated that starting today, I would terminate all employment relations with the company and no longer be bound by any non-compete agreement. I was free to join any company or start my own business. To her, this was also an enormous threat. But compared with the flesh-cutting agreement before it, this one seemed less unbearable. She only signed silently, faster this time. Both agreements had 2 copies. I took the signed copies, reviewed them carefully, confirmed everything was correct, then kept my copies and pushed hers back. Done, President Qin. From now on, our new cooperation model officially begins. I hope we have a happy cooperation. I stood and extended my hand. This was the first time we interacted purely as business partners. Vivian sat on the sofa, unmoving. She looked up at me, her eyes terribly hollow. Her once dazzling face was now filled only with humiliation and pallor. She did not shake my hand. She only slowly stood, picked up her documents, said nothing, and turned toward the door. Her back was still straight, but it carried an indescribable loneliness. Just as her hand was about to touch the doorknob, I suddenly spoke. Vivian Qin. Her steps stopped. She did not turn. Jason Jiang had a car accident last night. I said. He drove that new sports car of his on a mountain road outside the city and crashed into the guardrail. The car is destroyed. He is still in the hospital. His right leg suffered a comminuted fracture. For the rest of his life, he probably won't be able to leave a wheelchair. Vivian's body shook violently. Her shoulders trembled. I quietly looked at her back and continued, I guess he wanted to find you. To ask for an explanation. Or maybe he remembered how good you were to him and lost focus. After all, an 8.6 million bonus and your public protection of him were enough to make him develop some improper illusions. He thought he was special to you. But he didn't expect that to you. He was just like your expensive bags and jewelry. A consumer product for a certain phase. When you liked him, you held him in your palm. When you didn't like him anymore, you threw him away. For greater benefit, you could abandon him without hesitation. My voice was cold. Like ice fragments smashing against Vivian's spine. Do you think he's pitiful? I don't. Because all of this was his own choice. He chose shortcuts. Chose to attach himself to you. Chose to exchange flattery for fame and profit. Then he should have been prepared to be abandoned by you at any time. The truly pitiful ones are the people he stepped on. People like me. I walked step by step behind her. Vivian Cheen, do you know? During the most critical period of the Tianshu project, I stayed awake for a full week and nearly died in the laboratory. And during that time, Jason drove the car you bought him and took different women around the city's bars to show off. The day the project succeeded, I had a high fever and called you to tell you the good news. The one who answered was Jason. He said you were showering and had no time. Then I heard your voice on the other end, laughing and asking him if the water temperature was right. Vivian shook harder. She seemed nailed in place. Unable to move. So do you understand now? Why I wanted him out? I was not jealous of him. I was not throwing a tantrum. I simply felt disgust. Disgusted by him. Disgusted by you. And most disgusted by myself, the me who once trusted you completely and believed we were still fighting side by side. After finishing, I stepped back, widening the distance between us. That's all. You can leave. Wind seemed to rise outside the door. A draft slipped through the crack, moving the hem of Vivian's clothes. She stood there for a very long time. So long I thought she might stand there forever. Finally, she moved. She did not open the door. Instead, she slowly turned around. For the first time, I saw tears on her face. Two clear streams slid silently down her pale cheeks. Those tears washed through her delicate makeup, leaving two miserable marks. I looked at them. My heart remained still. Crocodile tears. The favorite trick of businesspeople. When profit and power cannot solve the problem, they pull out their final weapon: weakness. Unfortunately, I was no longer the young man from 8 years ago who would panic when he saw her cry. Put that away, Vivian Cheen. I spoke coldly. It does not work on me anymore. She seemed not to expect that reaction. Her crying stopped for a moment as she looked at me in disbelief. In your eyes, everything I do is wrong, isn't it? Her voice was thick with tears and grievance. Everything I do is acting. Everything has a purpose. Isn't it? I asked back. She choked on my words. Tears flowed harder. Adrian Luo, you really changed. She sobbed. You've changed so much I don't recognize you. You weren't like this before. Before you would feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for you? I laughed as if I had heard the world's biggest joke. President Cheen, are you even worthy of saying those words to me? When I stayed up all night doing experiments until I coughed blood, where were you? When someone cornered me in an alley over a piece of core data and broke one of my ribs, where were you? Oh, right. I slapped my forehead as if suddenly remembering. At that time, you were probably with Jason at your new villa in West Mountain, sipping 1982 Lafite and discussing next quarter's financial report. Every word was a loud slap across her face. Vivian's complexion shifted from white to red, then from red to blue. Wonderful to watch. She wanted to refute me. But not a word came out. Because everything I said was true. The fighting side by side I believed in all those years had, in the end, only been my one-man show. She had long climbed to a higher peak, looking down at me still struggling at the foot of the mountain. Even a casual look that said, "Keep going," carried a condescending air. She opened her mouth as if trying to explain. I didn't know about your injuries, you didn't know? I interrupted her, my smile colder. Of course you didn't. Because Jason told you I fell by accident. You didn't know I coughed blood because Jason told you I only had a mild cold. You didn't know anything. You only knew your assistant was gentle, thoughtful, and handled things well. And your chief technology officer had a strange temper, poor social skills, and always caused trouble. Vivian Cheen, did you truly not know? Or did you simply not want to know? I stepped closer, staring into her eyes, refusing to let go of the smallest change in her expression. Her gaze began to dodge. She did not dare meet my eyes. In that instant, I understood everything. It was not that she did not know. She had only chosen to believe what she wanted to believe. Because Jason could give her emotional comfort, daily care, the satisfaction of being admired and worshipped as a female CEO. And what I could give her was boring data and endless technical problems. She was tired. She was sick of the hard days of conquering the world with me. She wanted to sit calmly as a queen enjoying the results. And Jason was the courtier who best knew how to serve a queen. Enough. I stepped back, suddenly uninterested. Arguing with her about these things had no meaning anymore. No matter what the truth was, it could not change the fact that we had already gone separate ways. The agreements are signed. Our conversation is over. President Cheen, please leave. You are not welcome here. This time, Vivian did not linger. She looked at me deeply. In her eyes was regret and pain I could not understand. Then she wiped away her tears, said nothing, opened the door, and left. When the door closed, the entire world became quiet. I stood alone in the empty living room, feeling as if all strength had been drained from my body. This 8-year war had ended in my victory. But I felt no joy. Only exhaustion. Deep exhaustion, down to the bone. I sat on the sofa for a very long time. Until the sky outside slowly darkened. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Hello, is this Mr. Adrian Luo? The voice on the other end was polite and respectful. Yes. Mr. Luo, I am secretary to Chairman Victor Zhao of Starseed Technology. Chairman Zhao asked me to ask whether you are free tomorrow at 10 in the morning. He would like to personally visit you. Here it was. My spirit lifted, and I sat upright. Fine. Let him come. Good, Mr. Luo. See you tomorrow. After hanging up, I looked at the pitch-black night outside. Finally, the corner of my mouth slowly curved into a real smile. Vivian Cheen. Did you think everything ended after signing those agreements? No. That was only the beginning. I not only want to take back everything that belongs to me. I also want to build an empire of my own with my own hands. A technology empire you can only look up to but never touch. At 9:50 the next morning, a low-key black Audi stopped downstairs from my apartment. The door opened, and a man in a dark suit stepped out. He looked around 50. Square face. Thick brows. Sharp eyes. Steady steps. It was Victor Zhao, founder of Starseed Technology. He brought no secretary. No bodyguards. Only himself. That bearing alone was already far above Vivian's. I stood on the balcony and watched him enter the building, then ring my doorbell. I opened the door and met his sharp, bright eyes. Engineer Luo, I have heard your name for a long time. I apologize for visiting so abruptly. Victor Zhao spoke with the straightforward courtesy of a businessman who had seen the world. He extended his hand first. Mr. Zhao, you are too polite. Please come in. I shook his hand. His palm was broad and strong, with thin calluses from years of holding pens. This was a practical doer. I had my first judgment. Victor entered and quickly swept his eyes over my living room. When he saw the mountain of books and drawings, a trace of appreciation flashed in his eyes. Engineer Luo, this place is truly a hidden world. He smiled. There was teasing in his tone, but no contempt. Excuse the mess. I poured him tea. I live alone, so I'm too lazy to clean. Heroes don't fuss over details. Victor accepted the tea and sat opposite me, going straight to the point. Engineer Luo, let's not speak in circles. I came today for Tianshu too. I won't waste your time. You didn't answer my call yesterday and instead met Vivian Cheen. I assume you reached some kind of agreement. He knew. After Vivian left, she must have acted immediately to track my every move. If I could see Victor Zhao, naturally she could too. That's right. I did not deny it. I signed a technology licensing agreement with her. A trace of disappointment flashed in Victor's eyes. But quickly, stronger interest replaced it. Oh, only licensing? He sharply caught the key word. Yes. I nodded. The ownership of Tianshu 2 and every future patent for iterative products remains in my personal hands. In other words, I looked at him and spoke slowly. I can still sell licenses to a second company. And a third. Victor's eyes lit up. Like a hungry wolf seeing prey. Terms. He almost blurted out. The same terms as Vivian Chin. No, I'll give you higher. She gave you 30% profit share. I'll give 35%. Number 40%. He slapped his thigh and leaned forward with excitement. Engineer Luo, as long as you nod, all resources at Starseed Technology are yours to deploy. I personally guarantee there will never be a second Jason Jiang in front of you. His words were powerful. Full of temptation. If I were only a technical person who wanted revenge on Vivian, or only wanted money, I might have agreed on the spot. But I was not. I wanted more. I shook my head. Victor's smile froze. Engineer Luo, are you dissatisfied with the terms? No, I looked into his eyes and said seriously, Mr. Zhao, I agreed to see you today not to discuss licensing. Then Victor frowned. What I want to discuss is cooperation. Cooperation? Yes. I nodded. A brand new cooperation model. I explained my vision for the future in detail. I would establish an independent research institute, with myself as the absolute technological core. This institute would not belong to any company. It would focus only on the most cutting-edge R&D. Starseed Technology and Vivian Chin's company could both become my clients. They could invest in me in exchange for priority access to the newest technologies. They could also place technical orders based on market demands, customizing what they needed. In short, I would become the industry's technological heart. They would be the blood vessels connected to the market. We would depend on one another, yet remain independent. I would no longer need to read anyone's face. They would no longer need to worry that core technology was monopolized by one company. This would be a new win-win ecosystem. After hearing me out, Victor fell into long silence. He held the tea that had already gone cold. Motionless. But storms surged in his eyes. Clearly, my idea had shocked him. It was a bold plan that completely overturned the existing business model. The risk was enormous. But if successful, the reward would be just as astonishing. Engineer Luo, after a long time, he finally spoke, voice a little dry. This idea is bold. Not ordinarily bold. But his tone shifted, and his eyes sharpened again. I like it. He slammed the teacup onto the table. Let's do it. I, Victor Zhao, will take this gamble with you. I will invest 100 million yuan as startup capital for the research institute. Facilities, equipment, personnel, just say what you need. Within 3 days, I will get everything ready. His decisiveness exceeded my expectations. I looked at the hand he extended to me. Finally, I smiled. Mr. Zhao, you will be proud of the decision you made today. I shook his hand firmly. A brand new era officially opened at that moment. After seeing Victor Zhao off, I immediately threw myself into intense preparation. Site selection. Equipment procurement. Team recruitment. Everything proceeded in order. Victor Zhao was extremely efficient. Everything I needed arrived before me at the fastest speed. In just 1 week, my personal research institute Yaoguang Laboratory began taking shape. During that week, Vivian made no move. She did not come to me. Did not send me any messages. As if she had fully accepted reality. But I knew this was only the calm before the storm. With her personality, she would never let it go. She had to be waiting. Waiting for a chance to strike back. Sure enough, on the second day after Yaoguang Laboratory was officially established, my phone received an explosive news alert. The mother of the Tianshu chip, President Vivian Chin, announces deep strategic cooperation with European chip giant Glory Group. Powerful alliance. A new international chapter for Tianshu 2 may be coming. The photo showed Vivian speaking happily with a blonde foreign man at a banquet. In the picture, she was radiant and spirited. She had returned to her dazzling queenly posture. As if the humiliation and defeat she suffered here had never happened. Glory Group. The absolute giant at the top of the global semiconductor industry. Vivian had actually found such a powerful external backer. Looking at the news, the smile at my lips slowly cooled. She wanted to borrow a knife to kill. Good. My phone rang at the perfect moment. The caller ID was Vivian Cheen. I answered. Did you see it? Her voice carried undisguised pride and provocation. Adrian Luo, I admit you are smart. But you underestimated me. Did you think my company cannot survive without you? You are wrong. In this world, no one is irreplaceable. Without your Tianshu too, I will have Glory Group's aegis. They greatly admire my marketability and are willing to let me operate their newest generation technology. Very soon, I will show you who the final winner is. Her voice was like an ice cone dipped in poison. Sharp and cold. Is that so? I spoke lightly, without emotion. Then I will wait and see. However, President Cheen, I still need to remind you of something. When you ask a tiger for its skin, be careful the tiger doesn't bite back. Glory Group is a tiger with a large appetite. Are you sure you can feed it? After saying that, I hung up before she could answer. Listening to the busy tone, the smile on Vivian's face froze slightly. My words pierced her heart like a thorn. Of course she knew Glory Group was not kind. Their cooperation terms were extremely harsh. Almost half of her company's future market would be taken away. But she had no choice. To win back this round, to avoid being completely stepped under my feet, she could only drink poison to quench thirst. She took a deep breath and pressed down the unease. Adrian Luo, just wait. I will make you regret this. The news of Vivian's cooperation with Glory Group struck the industry like a bomb. For a time, the wind shifted sharply. Several companies that had been watching me, even some that intended to invest in me, began hesitating. Victor Zhao called immediately. Engineer Luo, about this, his voice carried unconcealable worry. Glory Group's name was too powerful. It was a global giant sitting at the top of the pyramid. Their technological foundation was far beyond domestic companies. If they truly supported Vivian with full strength, it would be a catastrophe for us. Mr. Zhao, don't panic. My voice remained calm. Do you believe pies fall from the sky? Victor froze. Why would Glory Group suddenly extend an olive branch to Vivian Cheen? I continued. They have coveted the Chinese market for years and never succeeded. Why choose Vivian Cheen at this exact moment? Victor fell into thought. There must be a deal behind it we do not know. I pointed out sharply. The price Vivian paid must be beyond imagination. More importantly, I paused and spoke word by word. Can Glory Group be trusted? Those foreign capitalists only care about profit. Today, they can support Vivian for market access. Tomorrow, for a greater profit, they can swallow her whole. This is not cooperation. This is feeding a tiger. Victor's breathing gradually steadied. Engineer Luo, I understand. You mean we watch and wait? No, I smiled. Not only can we not watch and wait. We must add fuel to the fire. Oh? Victor became interested. Vivian thinks hugging Glory Group's thigh means she can rest easy? I will let her understand that what she brought in was not a savior. It was a hungry wolf that can never be fed. After hanging up, I immediately contacted a familiar financial media outlet. Half a day later, a deep analysis article appeared on major news sites. Glory Group's Trojan horse? Beware the capital trap behind domestic high-tech industries. The article did not directly name Vivian. But every line hinted that her cooperation with Glory Group was a dangerous game of inviting wolves into the house. The article carefully analyzed Glory Group's bloody history in other countries, how it used technology cooperation to erode, control, and eventually devour local leading companies step by step. Every case was shocking. The article was like a precision-guided missile. It hit the market's fear point directly. Vivian's company stock, which had risen because of the Glory cooperation, fell immediately. And it fell fiercely. In one day, nearly 5 billion yuan in market value evaporated. Panic spread like plague among shareholders and investors. Inside Vivian's office, the phone had been exploding. President Cheen. The stock is still falling. It has hit limit down. President Cheen, the board demands an explanation immediately. President Cheen, Glory is demanding that we add collateral right away, or they will reassess the cooperation. The assistant's anxious reports mixed with the sound of Vivian smashing things. Get out. All of you, get out. She screamed hysterically and swept every file off her desk. She never imagined Adrian Luo's counterattack would come so fast and so hard. He did not use any technical method. Only one article was enough to trap her between enemies inside and outside. Adrian Luo, she collapsed onto the cold floor and repeated my name. Her eyes were filled with hatred. And a trace of fear she refused to admit. For the first time, she discovered that the man she thought she knew completely had become a terrifying opponent beyond her control. While Vivian was overwhelmed, I welcomed an unexpected guest at Yaoguang Laboratory. A blond foreign man with blue eyes and a pleasant smile. Smith, president of Glory Group's Greater China region. The same man in the news photo, talking happily with Vivian. Mr. Luo, I've heard a lot about you. Smith spoke fluent Chinese and extended his hand first. His attitude was polite and proper, yet carried an undeniable strength. Mr. Smith, please sit. I gestured for him to sit and personally brewed a cup of Chinese tea. What guidance brings Mr. Smith here? Smith smiled, picked up the cup, and took a light sip. Mr. Luo, you are a smart man, so I won't speak in circles. He put down the teacup. In his blue eyes flashed the shrewd light of a businessman. Our cooperation with Miss Chin is only a commercial performance. Our real target is you. I raised an eyebrow and said nothing, signaling him to continue. I have seen the data for your Tianshu. It is excellent. And I believe your Tianshu too will be even more astonishing. Miss Chin is a decent salesperson. But she does not understand technology. Even less does she understand the value of technology. She is like a beggar holding a golden bowl, wasting an excellent hand of cards. Smith's evaluation was merciless. So we would like to invite you to join us. He handed me a document. This is the contract we prepared for you. Chief Scientist of Glory Group's Global Technology R&D Center. You can own a laboratory 10 times larger than your current one. A top-tier team of hundreds. And unlimited R&D funding. We can buy all your patents at a price you cannot refuse. You will become a core figure of Glory Group and stand at the top of the world. All you need to do is nod. His terms were more than 10 times better than Victor Zhao's. This was almost the ultimate dream of every technical person. Become the core of a global top company. Possess endless resources. Realize all your technological ambitions. I looked at the tempting contract and fell silent. A victorious smile appeared on Smith's face. He did not believe anyone could refuse this temptation. Well, Mr. Luo? He leaned forward, his voice carrying a hint of seduction. This is an opportunity that can change your entire life. I slowly lifted my head and looked at him. Then I smiled. Mr. Smith, your story is very good. But it seems you misunderstood something. I gently pushed the contract back to him. I don't like working for others. Especially for people like you, who burn bridges after crossing rivers and stab partners in the back. Smith's smile froze. Mr. Luo, what do you mean? His smile disappeared, and coldness showed in his blue eyes. My meaning is simple. I leaned back, fingers crossed, calmly watching him. When you were negotiating cooperation with Vivian Chin, behind her back you came to me, trying to poach me. Now you sit before me and try to convince me to betray my partner, Victor Zhao. Mr. Smith, in your business logic, are there only two words: betrayal and poaching? Do you think I would cooperate with someone who has no credibility at all? My words were a sharp knife, stripping away his gentlemanly mask and revealing the ugly calculation underneath. Smith's expression instantly became unpleasant. Mr. Luo, this is business strategy, not betrayal. He tried to explain. In business, maximizing profit is everyone's consensus. Is that so? I smiled. Then I'm sorry. My consensus also includes integrity and bottom lines. Besides, my tone shifted, and my eyes sharpened. Do you really think Glory Group's technology is that impressive? Smith's eyebrows lifted sharply. This undoubtedly touched the pride of both him and Glory Group. Mr. Luo, I admit your Tianshu is excellent. But in semiconductors, Glory is the rule maker. His tone carried arrogance. Oh? Rule maker? I scoffed. From the drawer, I took out a small chip sample. It was the first test version of Tianshu 2, rushed out using Yaoguang Laboratories equipment. I placed the tiny chip on the table and pushed it before him. Mr. Smith, why not take a look? Smith's gaze fell on the chip smaller than a fingernail. At first, contempt flashed in his eyes. To him, something made in a small lab probably looked like a child's toy. Still, he picked it up and took out a portable microscope from his pocket. He examined it carefully. 1 second. 2 seconds. 10 seconds. His expression changed from contempt to seriousness. Then from seriousness to shock. Finally, into complete disbelief. This is, his hand began trembling. Even his voice changed. Impossible. This level of integration, this architecture, it completely violates existing physical laws. He looked at me as if looking at a ghost. Welcome to the new world, Mr. Smith. I leaned back and smiled. Starting today, your so-called rules need to be changed. Tianshu 2 used my original new 3-dimensional stacking architecture. It completely broke through the plain limitations of traditional chips, achieving several times the performance improvement and greatly reduced power consumption within the same area. This was a dimensional strike capable of overturning the entire industry and turning all existing technologies into antiques. Glory Group's aegis? Before Tianshu 2, it was nothing but outdated electronic trash. Smith collapsed back into his chair, dazed, muttering non-stop. Monster madman, he finally understood why I dared refuse his offer. What I held was not a golden bowl. It was a money-printing machine with unlimited ink. With such technology, I did not need to attach myself to anyone. I could become the rule. Mr. Smith. I kindly reminded him. Actually, we can discuss a different cooperation method. He lifted his head suddenly, looking at me like he had grabbed a life-saving rope. What method? Simple. I smiled, and the smile carried a devilish edge. Doesn't Glory Group love playing capital games? Don't you love acquiring others? Now I'll give you a chance. Let you acquire me. Smith froze. Then ecstasy exploded in his eyes. He thought I had changed my mind. Of course. Mr. Luo. Name your price. No matter how much, we don't rush. I interrupted him slowly. I'm not saying you acquire my technology or my lab. I mean, Glory Group sells itself to me. Smith's joy froze instantly. He looked as if lightning had struck him. His whole body stiffened, and his mouth hung wide enough to fit an egg. What did you say? He suspected something was wrong with his ears. I repeated clearly, word by word. I want to acquire Glory Group. Of course, not all of it. I have no interest in your messy European operations. I only care about your Greater China business. You and your team sell the whole package to me. From now on, you will no longer work for Glory. You will work for me, Adrian Luo. What do you think, Mr. Smith? Is this condition sincere enough? The living room was dead silent. Smith's expression looked uglier than crying. He had spent decades in business and had met countless arrogant people. But someone as arrogant as me? This was the first. One person declaring he would acquire the regional business of a multinational giant worth hundreds of billions? This was not arrogance. This was madness. Mr. Luo, are you joking? He laughed dryly. Do I look like I'm joking? I asked back. My expression was completely serious. The reason I'm telling you this is not to discuss it with you. I am informing you. I stood and walked to the window, looking at the traffic below. Within 3 days, I want to see your acquisition proposal. Otherwise, I will sell the first Tianshu 2 license to your mortal enemy in the United States. I think they would be very happy to use this technology to drag Glory Group down from its altar. My voice was soft. But each word hit Smith's heart like a heavy hammer. He knew I was not joking. If Tianshu 2 truly fell into a competitor's hands, it would be a catastrophe for Glory Group. The choice before him was no longer accept or reject. It was choose death or choose to live on your knees. Adrian Luo, he looked at my back and squeezed the 3 words through his teeth. You are a devil. Thank you for the compliment. I turned back and gave him a brilliant smile. Smith left in a daze. When he came, he was spirited and confident, as if the entire world was under his control. When he left, he looked like a defeated rooster, even his spine collapsed. I knew my words had completely destroyed his pride and confidence. Next, he would deliver my notice to Glory Group's headquarters exactly as I said. And those high and mighty directors would face an unprecedentedly difficult choice. Lose a piece of flesh to this sudden devil, or watch the entire group be torn apart by competitors. I believed they would choose wisely. After all, capital has no borders. And no dignity. Only profit. And I had given them an option that, while humiliating, could preserve most of their profit. The next 2 days were calm. Vivian's company stock began to slowly recover after 1 day of limit down, but remained low. Clearly, my article still had lingering power. The market remained full of doubt and distrust toward her cooperation with Glory Group. She must have been as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. I could even imagine how she repeatedly called Smith, urging him to fulfill the contract and stabilize market sentiment. Unfortunately, Smith was probably more anxious than she was now. He had no energy to bother with Vivian, a chess piece already abandoned. On the morning of the 3rd day, my email received an encrypted message from Glory Group headquarters. The sender was Pierre Dupont, Glory Group's CEO, an old Frenchman. The content was simple. It was a draft letter of intent for equity transfer and business divestiture. They agreed. They agreed to transfer the entire Greater China business including all channels, personnel, and fixed assets to me personally for a symbolic price, €1. Of course, in exchange, I needed to sign a 10-year technology non-aggression agreement with Glory Group and agree not to license Tianshu 2 or any subsequent technology to any of their European or American competitors. It was a humiliating-looking but actually very clever stop-loss plan. They used a Chinese market that had already lost value in exchange for 10 years of safety in Europe and America. At the same time, they avoided their stock price collapsing under the impact of Tianshu 2. These old-school capitalists were indeed cunning. Looking at the intent letter, I smiled. This result was within my expectations. I did not reply immediately. Instead, I forwarded the email to Victor Zhao. Then called him. "Mr. Zhao, the feast has arrived. Are you ready to start eating?" After reading the email, Victor was silent for a full minute. Then I heard a very loud slap on a table. And his roar, distorted by excessive excitement. "Engineer Luo. You're a genius. Acquire it. Acquire it immediately. If we lack money, I'll figure it out. Even if I have to sell everything, we must swallow Glory's China business." His excitement was understandable. Swallowing Glory's China business was something he never dared dream of. Once successful, Starseed Technology would leap into becoming the absolute overlord of the domestic market. It might even gain the strength to challenge international giants. All of this was something I brought him. "Mr. Zhao, calm down." I soothed him. "We are not eating that piece of meat." "What?" Victor's shout stopped abruptly, filled with confusion. "Why? Such a good opportunity, because," I interrupted him slowly. "That piece of meat is poisonous. What Glory Group leaves behind is a huge, bloated mess. If we swallow it now, we will suffer indigestion. We might even be dragged to death by it. Besides, do you think they would truly be kind enough to hand us a complete market? This letter is full of hidden traps. Once we sign it, we tie ourselves to their war chariot, and the consequences will be endless." Victor calmed down. "Then what do you mean?" "My meaning is simple." I smiled. "We won't eat the meat. But we can drink the soup. We can establish a new joint venture. We provide technology and management to operate the mess Glory leaves behind. If it profits, we take more. If it loses, Glory bears the loss. Most importantly, this new company must be absolutely controlled by us. This way, we can use their channels and resources to quickly capture the market without assuming risk. And we keep initiative firmly in our hands." The other end fell into long silence again. This time, after the silence came Victor Zhao's deep admiration from the heart. "Engineer Luo, in my whole life, I have rarely respected anyone. You are the first. We'll do exactly as you said. I'll have the legal team negotiate immediately." Everything proceeded unusually smoothly. Facing the absolute technological advantage of Tianshu 2, Glory Group had no room to bargain. Just 1 day later, a brand new cooperation agreement led by our side came out. The moment the news was announced, the entire market boiled. Everyone was stunned by my move of obtaining massive resources without swallowing the poison. No one expected that the war Vivian Qin started, a war that looked so unequal, would end in such a dramatic way. Starseed Technology's stock skyrocketed, hitting 3 consecutive limit-up days. Vivian's company became the industry's biggest joke. Her stock price plunged again and neared collapse. The board issued a final ultimatum to her. Banks stopped all loans to her. Partners cancelled contracts one after another. When a wall collapses, everyone pushes. The once dazzling queen became isolated and abandoned in only a few days. I knew she was finished. This time, truly finished. Just when everyone thought the drama had ended, my phone received an unexpected call. Jason Jiang. The man I had personally kicked out of the game, lying in the hospital with a broken leg. Adrian Luo. His voice was hoarse and weak, but carried bone-deep hatred. Do you think you already won? Do you think Vivian Qin has lost everything and can never rise again? I'm telling you, you're wrong. She still has one final trump card. One that can ruin your reputation and send you to hell forever. Trump card? I leaned against the laboratory's floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the city night outside. A dismissive cold smile curved my lips. Jason, did lying in that hospital bed damage your brain too? Vivian Qin is now a gambler who has lost all her chips. What trump card can she possibly have? You think you know her well? Jason let out a low, strange laugh, unpleasant as a night owl. Adrian Luo, you are too arrogant. You only saw her as a businesswoman. You don't know how ruthless she can be as a woman. His words made an inexplicable irritation rise in my heart. Say what you have to say. I don't have time to waste with you. Jason laughed again. Soon, you'll have plenty of time. You'll have plenty of time to talk slowly with your lawyer in court. What do you mean? My brows tightened. It means, Jason's voice suddenly turned vicious and pleased. Vivian Qin is going to sue you. Sue you for embezzlement by abuse of position. She says Tianshu and Tianshu 2 both belong to the company, not to you personally. She says you used your position to steal the company's core technology and profit from it. That is a crime. She has evidence. All the agreements you signed when you started the company together. All the contract clauses stating that as Chief Technology Officer, all R&D results belong to the company. And, a witness you absolutely cannot expect. My heart sank hard. Embezzlement by abuse of position. Those words slammed into my chest like a boulder. I had indeed signed an agreement stating that R&D results belonged to the company. At the beginning of entrepreneurship, for the company's overall interest, I signed my name without hesitation. I never imagined that one day, this agreement representing our shared dream would become the deadliest weapon Vivian used against me. If the charge was established, I would not only lose ownership of Tianshu 2. I would face massive compensation. Even prison. Vivian Qin. How ruthless. To win, you don't even want the last shred of our past affection. To win, you are willing to send me to prison. How does it feel, Adrian Luo? Jason's voice was full of revenge. Does it feel like the sky is collapsing? You destroyed everything I had. So I will watch you fall from the clouds and shatter into pieces. Oh, by the way, he added, as if suddenly remembering. Do you know who that key witness is? The company's financial director, Linda Lee. The same Linda Lee you always respected and treated like an older sister. Vivian gave her more money than she could spend in this lifetime, asking her to testify that all your R&D funds were obtained through abnormal means from the company. Human testimony and physical evidence. This time, you are dead. After hanging up, I stood there for a long time without moving. The neon outside blurred into a sheet of light in my eyes. Every word Jason said was like a poison dagger stabbing into my heart. I was not afraid. I was chilled. Not by Vivian's desire to destroy me, but by Linda Lee's betrayal. Linda was one of the company's earliest members. She followed us when we were still working in the rented room. After the call ended, my fingertips still felt cold. Jason's voice coiled around my ears like a venomous snake. Embezzlement. Witness. Prison. Each word stabbed precisely into the vital point. He thought I would panic. Fear. Become hysterical like him when pushed to the end. But he was wrong. I picked up my phone again and called Victor Zhao. Engineer Luo? This late? Victor sounded surprised. Mr. Zhao, I need you to investigate someone. My voice was so calm even I found it unexpected. The company's financial director, Linda Lee. Her daughter bought a house in the United States last year, correct? The other end was silent for 2 seconds. I understand. Victor did not ask more. I'll get back to you before dawn. After hanging up, I poured myself a cup of warm water and sat on the balcony, watching the city lights go out one by one. Vivian Qin. You chose the stupidest road. If you had simply admitted defeat, I might have left you a way out. After all, those 8 years, although they eventually changed, were years we truly walked together. But you chose to destroy me. Then do not blame me for tearing away even the last bit of dignity you have left. At 4 in the morning, Victor Zhao called back. Found it. His voice carried suppressed anger. Linda Lee's daughter bought a villa in Los Angeles worth $3 million. Paid in full. The source of funds was an offshore shell company. Tracing the beneficiary behind it, it is Vivian Chin. As expected. Also, Victor continued. Vivian's private lawyer went to Linda Lee's home overnight and stayed nearly 3 hours. At 7 this morning, Linda will go to the district procuratorate and submit a real name report. Perfect timing. I checked the time. Now it's 4:30. I still have 2.5 hours. Engineer Luo, what do you plan to do? Need me to show up? No need. I stood and picked up my coat. Mr. Zhao, I only need you to help me with one thing. Tell me. Contact the best legal team. Both criminal litigation and civil litigation. Also, I paused. Set up a meeting with Director Wang from Starsea's legal department. Have him bring a full electronic forensics team and wait for me at the entrance of the district procuratorate at 7. Victor's breathing clearly quickened. You are going to, didn't Vivian Chin want to sue me? I put on my coat and smiled. Then I will crush this lawsuit in front of her. At 6:50 in the morning, outside the district procuratorate. A black business car parked at the roadside. 3 people sat inside. The leader was a middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses. He looked refined and elegant, but his eyes were sharp like a hawk's. Director Wang Zhenchuan of Starsea Technologies legal department. One of the top commercial litigation lawyers in the country. He had handled 17 cross-border intellectual property cases. 0 losses. Engineer Luo. Wang Zhenchuan extended his hand first. Chairman Zhao already told me the situation. Is the evidence in your hands enough? Enough. I took a USB drive from my pocket. What's inside can slap Vivian Chin's face until it breaks. Wang accepted it without asking more and inserted it into his laptop. 30 seconds later, behind his lenses flashed extreme shock. Engineer Luo, he lifted his head, voice trembling slightly. Inside this are all offshore account flows under Vivian Chin's name, and the full records of how she transferred company profits through affiliated companies over the years. Not only that. I leaned back. It also includes evidence of how she hired Linda Lee's daughter and used bribery to silence certain people. How did you get all this? Vivian Chin taught me one thing. I smiled. Always leave a blade behind your opponent's back. Although Jason had isolated me from the company's power circle for 8 years, as Chief Technology Officer, I had access to far more core data than Vivian imagined. I simply never thought I would one day use it to protect myself. At 7 sharp, a white sedan stopped at the procuratorate entrance. The door opened. A middle-aged woman in a gray suit stepped out. Her hair was combed meticulously, but her expression could not hide tension and exhaustion. Linda Lee. She held a craft paper envelope and hesitated before stepping up the stairs. Linda. I opened the car door and called her. Her body froze. Slowly, she turned. The moment she saw me, her face turned pale. Shu Shuyao, her lips trembled. Her voice was almost inaudible. Linda. I walked to her and looked into her evasive eyes. Is your daughter living comfortably in her Los Angeles house? Linda's body shook violently as if whipped. How I know isn't important. I extended my hand. What matters is this. Are you sure you want to trade your lifetime reputation for Vivian Chin's $3 million? Her hand clutching the envelope trembled. Linda, I don't blame you. I looked into her eyes and softened my tone. You were forced to. Your daughter is getting married. You wanted to give her the best. Vivian Chin seized that weakness. But Linda, my tone turned. Have you thought about this? Even if you send me in, will Vivian let you go? You will become her permanent time bomb. She will use this matter to threaten you for the rest of your life. Your daughter's house could be taken back at any time. The rest of your life will be lived under her shadow. Linda's eyes reddened instantly. Shuyao, I'm sorry, her voice trembled with sobs. Tears burst out. Linda. I sighed and handed her a business card. This is the lawyer I prepared for you. Come with me now. Proactively explain everything to the procuratorate. Tell them the full truth about Vivian forcing you to give false testimony. I promise you will be fine. I will handle your safety. I can also arrange protection for your daughter. But if you still choose to help Vivian Chin," my voice turned cold. "Then this thing in my hand will appear on every media outlets and securities regulator's desk today." I shook another USB drive in front of her. "Inside it is every hidden account Vivian Chin passed through you over the past 5 years. Every signature you made. Every fingerprint you pressed. It is all inside." Linda's face lost all color. She looked at the USB drive. Then at me. Her lips moved for a long time. Finally, as if all strength had been drained from her, she collapsed weakly. "I'll go with you, Shuyao, I'll go with you." She handed me the craft envelope. Inside it is fake. It is the forged record of our defund misappropriation Vivian asked me to create. The originals are in my home safe. I accepted the envelope and patted her shoulder. "Linda, don't worry. All of this will end soon." At 9 in the morning, Vivian sat in her president's office. The ashtray before her was filled with cigarette butts. She had not closed her eyes for 2 days. The company stock had fallen into ruins. The board jointly demanded she resign. The banks froze all credit limits. The Glory Group cooperation became a complete joke. But she still had one final hope. As long as Linda Lee submitted that report. As long as the Procuratorate opened a case. Adrian Luo would be dragged into a long judicial process. During that time, she could find a way to freeze Tianshu 2's technical property rights and retake the initiative. She had even prepared a PR team. Once news of Adrian being investigated broke out, public opinion would be guided toward, technology thief eats his own consequences. "Adrian Luo, do you think you won?" She crushed out the cigarette and muttered to the air. "You cannot win. This world has always been about who is more ruthless." The desk phone rang. It was her private lawyer. "President Chin." Something happened. The lawyer's voice had never been so panicked. "Linda Lee, she didn't go to the Procuratorate. She went to Starseed Technologies' legal department. She turned on us." Vivian shot to her feet. The ashtray in her hand fell and shattered on the ground. "What did you say?" And Starseed Technologies' legal department has already joined with the Procuratorate and Securities Regulators investigation team. They are on the way to the company. They have a huge amount of evidence on our transferred profits, false financial reports, and commercial bribery. President Chin, this time we're finished." The lawyer's voice trembled with despair. Vivian fell back into her chair. The phone slipped from her hand and fell onto the cold floor. Her mind went blank. Finished. Never had those words struck her heart so clearly and cruelly. She lost. Completely. All her calculations. All her dirty tricks. All her desperate attempts to drag him down before Adrian Luo, they were like a clumsy circus performance. He had seen through everything long ago. He had prepared every counterattack long ago. And she, like a clown, performed for so long on stage, thinking she could overturn the result, unaware that the audience waiting for her curtain call consisted of officers in handcuffs. The office door opened. The people who entered were not secretaries or assistants. They were uniformed investigators. "Ms. Vivian Chin, we are a joint investigation team from the Securities Regulatory Commission and District Procuratorate. Please cooperate with our investigation. Come with us now." Vivian lifted her head and looked at them. Her lips moved. She wanted to say something, but no sound came out. She stood and walked forward unsteadily. As she passed the floor-to-ceiling window, she subconsciously glanced outside. Downstairs, a black business car was parked at the roadside. The window was lowered halfway. It revealed a side profile she knew far too well. Adrian Luo. He sat in the car, holding a cup of coffee, looking up toward her across a height of more than 10 floors. Their eyes met. She saw the corner of his mouth slowly curve into a smile. There was no pride of victory in that smile. No pleasure of revenge. Only a kind of indifference after seeing through everything. Vivian closed her eyes. Finally, she shed the most miserable tears of her life. News of Vivian Chin being taken away spread through the entire industry like an atomic bomb within 2 hours. Major media headlines became increasingly explosive. Creator of Tianshu chip falls from altar. Business queen under investigation for economic crimes. Revealing the dark chain behind Vivian Chin's commercial empire. My phone was bombarded with calls, but I answered none. I sat in the office of Yaoguang Laboratory, watching data jump rapidly across my computer screen. My mood was strangely calm. When Victor Zhao pushed open the door, he carried 2 bottles of Mao Tai. Engineer Luo. Total victory. Tonight, we must celebrate. Excitement covered his face. Star Sea Technologies stock had hit limit up again today. Market value broke through 100 billion. And the source of all that was me. Mr. Zhao. I smiled. No rush to celebrate. There is still someone I need to see first. Victor froze, then understood. Jason Jiang? That useless thing, why see him? He has been completely abandoned by Vivian Qin. He is crippled now. The hospital is about to kick him out. He owes over $1 million in medical fees, and no one is paying. That is exactly why I need to see him. I stood. What he owes me, I want to collect face to face. City People's Hospital. Orthopedic ward. The smell of disinfectant filled the corridor. The air was heavy and oppressive. When I pushed open Jason's ward door, he was lying on the bed. His right leg was wrapped in thick plaster and suspended in midair. His face was wax yellow. His lips cracked. His eyes sunken. He looked nothing like the proud assistant Jiang from the celebration banquet. On his bedside table lay an empty medicine bottle and a phone with a shattered screen. Hearing the door, he turned his head. When he saw me, his eyes widened. What are you doing here? His voice was hoarse. His emotions surged violently. His body instinctively tried to sit up, but pain from his leg made his face twist. I came to bring you good news. I pulled a chair and sat 2 meters away. What do you mean? Vivian Qin was taken away this morning. Securities regulators and a joint investigation team. Suspected embezzlement, commercial bribery, false financial statements, enough to keep her inside for quite a few years. Jason's expression instantly became extremely complicated. Shock. Fear. Confusion. In the end, all of it became a twisted, nearly neurotic smile. Ha 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 ha, he laughed. The sound was especially harsh in the empty ward. She's finished too, Adrian Luo, you're ruthless. You really are ruthless. I didn't come to hear you say that. I interrupted him. I came to ask you something. What? How did you first meet Vivian Qin? Jason's smile froze. His eyes flickered. His lips moved, but he did not answer immediately. You didn't think, I continued, that I only came to the hospital to laugh at you, did you? Jason, after Vivian kicked you away, did you ever think about one question? She treated you so well. Gave you money, a car, a position in the company second only to hers. Even made you her pillow companion. So why, when she abandoned you, did she not blink? Jason's face grew uglier and uglier. What are you trying to say? What I'm saying is, I stood and walked to the window, my back to him. You thought you were her lover. Her confidant. The person she trusted most. But to Vivian Qin, you were only ever a tool. A tool used to isolate all real communication between me and her. She needed an obedient, gentle puppet who could fill her emotional emptiness at any time. And you happened to appear in that position. So she could give you 8.6 million. And in the next second, make you get lost. Because from beginning to end, she never treated you as a person. The ward became silent except for Jason's heavy breathing. You're lying, he finally spoke. His voice trembled. She was sincere to me, was she? I turned and looked at him. When she sent people to your home to take back everything she gave you, including that sports car, that apartment, even the cheap gifts you bought for her, did you still think so? Jason's body shook violently. A look finally appeared in his eyes that I had never seen before. Not hate. Not anger. But hollow despair after being completely shattered. You have nothing left, Jason. I walked before him and looked down. Your money. Your status. Your woman. Your leg. All gone. So I will give you one chance. I took out a check from my pocket and placed it on the bedside table. 500,000. Enough to pay your medical bills and rent a place to start over. Of course, this is not free. I want you, as Vivian Qin's former assistant, to reveal everything to the media under your real name. Tell them, in detail, how she used you over the years to eliminate rivals, suppress veteran employees, and rule the company like a dictator. If you cooperate, the 500,000 is yours. And I will not pursue those filthy things you did during the project, eating from inside and lining your own pocket." Jason stared at the check. In his eyes, despair and greed battled wildly. He remained silent for a long time. Then he stretched out a thin, bony hand and grabbed the edge of the check. "I agree." His voice sounded like it had been squeezed from underground. I watched his fingers clutch the check and nodded. Then I turned toward the door. At the doorway, I paused but did not look back. "Jason, do you know what your most pathetic point is? It is not that you became like this. It is that even now, you still hate me. But you do not dare hate the person who truly destroyed you." I opened the door and walked out. Behind me came a suppressed, heart-tearing sob. 3 days later, news of Vivian Chen's formal arrest hit every front page. All assets under her name were frozen. The company was placed under trusteeship. She herself would wait in detention for further trial. At the same time, Jason's real name expose video spread wildly online. In the video, he sat in a wheelchair, face haggard, voice hoarse but clear, revealing everything Vivian had done over the years. Suppressing technical veterans. Misappropriating RD funds. Transferring profits through affiliated companies. Even hiring internet trolls to smear competitors. Everything was exposed completely. The whole internet exploded. The woman once packaged as the queen of domestic chips became, overnight, a business fraud and an industry cancer, cursed by everyone. And as the person who started all this, my name began appearing more and more. The true inventor of the Tianshu chip, Adrian Luo. A technical genius exploited by his company and partner for 8 years, finally rising alone. The god of revenge who single-handedly brought down an industry giant. All kinds of titles poured in. Media interview invitations filled my inbox. Speech invitations from business forums and summits crowded my calendar. But I temporarily rejected them all. Because I still had more important things to do. After Vivian's company was placed under trusteeship, it quickly entered liquidation. The once great industry giant collapsed in half a month. Employees were dismissed. Business halted. The core RD team scattered. Those executives who flattered me at the celebration banquet and then mocked me behind my back left in disgrace, barely receiving severance pay. But when the Tianshu Project's RD team fell to their lowest point, the technicians who had stayed up countless nights with me, I reached out to them. I asked Victor Zhao's HR team to absorb the capable and honest ones into Yaoguang Laboratory. When we met again, many lowered their heads and did not dare look at me. "Engineer Luo, I'm sorry," one engineer who had followed me the longest spoke with a choked voice. "At that time, Jason and Vivian were suppressing us, we didn't dare speak." I patted his shoulder. "It's over. Starting today, here, you only need to do one thing. Focus on technology. If anyone bullies you, I'll stand in front. If anyone wants to take your work and claim credit, I will make him pay. I, Adrian Luo, keep my word." In the crowd, some people's eyes reddened. Some clenched their fists. Some nodded heavily. At that moment, I knew this new team would be more loyal and stronger than any team before. Because they had witnessed the fate of betrayers. And they had witnessed how much sky a true leader could hold up for his team. At the same time, Victor Zhao was not idle. Under my push, Yaoguang Laboratory and Starseed Technology officially established the new Tianshu Technology Group. It was a brand new company absolutely controlled by me, with Victor Zhao participating as strategic investor. The equity structure was clear and transparent. Power boundaries were explicit. No one was allowed to interfere in technical management. The mass production plan for Tianshu 2 was officially placed on the schedule. The first batch of engineering samples completed all tests inside the laboratory. The performance data was so astonishing that Victor Zhao smoked 2 cigarettes in a row before calming down. "Engineer Luo," he stared at the report, his voice trembling. "Tell me honestly. How exactly was this thing made?" I smiled. "Commercial secret. Mr. Zhao, just remember one thing. Starting today, the era of foreign giants choking our necks is over. We will become the rule makers." Victor Zhao looked at me for a long time. Then he slapped my shoulder heavily and said only one word. "Good." Things did not end there. During Vivian's detention, her lawyers repeatedly applied for bail pending trial, but every request was denied. The reason was simple. The amount involved was too large. The nature was too severe. And her attitude toward confession was extremely poor. She continued refusing to admit fault, pushing all blame onto Linda Li and Jason Jiang, claiming she had only been deceived by subordinates. Ridiculously, the more she tried to shift blame, the worse the evidence became. The original accounts Linda Li handed over. All the internal details Jason exposed. And the core financial data I provided. Together they formed a complete evidence chain almost impossible to overturn. In the end, prosecutors charged Vivian Chin with 3 crimes: embezzlement by abuse of position, false registered capital reporting, and bribery of non-state personnel. On the day of the trial, I went. I sat in the last row of the gallery. Across the crowd, I watched the once high and mighty female CEO enter the defendant's seat in gray prison clothes, escorted by officers. Her hair had been cut short. There was no makeup on her face. Her skin was pale almost to transparency. Her eyes were deeply sunken. She looked 10 years older. No trace remained of the queenly aura she had at the celebration banquet. When she entered the courtroom, her gaze instinctively swept over the gallery. The moment she saw me, her body visibly stiffened. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but the officer beside her stopped her. I did not avoid her gaze. I looked at her calmly. There was no pride. No pity. Only a kind of release after dust had settled. Vivian lowered her head. Her shoulders trembled slightly. The trial lasted an entire day. Facing overwhelming evidence, her defense lawyer was almost incoherent. Every defense sounded weak. Every accusation was confirmed one by one. Finally, the judge delivered the verdict in court. Vivian Chin was found guilty of embezzlement by abuse of position, false registered capital reporting, and bribery of non-state personnel. Combined punishment, 12 years in prison. A fine of 50 million yuan. All illegal gains recovered. The moment the gavel fell, a suppressed commotion rose through the gallery. Vivian stood in the defendant's seat as if her last straw had been pulled away. Her body swayed and was supported by the officer beside her. She turned her head and looked once more in my direction. This time, there was finally something in her eyes that I could understand. Regret. Unfortunately, the 2 most useless words in this world are, I regret. I stood. Did not look at her again. Turned and walked out of the courtroom. Outside, sunlight was dazzling and warm. I stood on the steps, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. 8 years. A full 8 years. The Vivian Chin who told me, Adrian Luo, I'll walk with you, inside that rented room, and the Vivian Chin sentenced in court today finally no longer overlapped. They were the same person. Yet they had long become different people. That girl who dreamed with me had died somewhere on the road to the mountaintop. And the me standing here now no longer needed her. 3 months later, Tianshu 2 officially entered mass production and launched. At the release event, I stood beneath the spotlight wearing the simplest black t-shirt and jeans. Behind me was a massive wall-sized screen showing Tianshu 2's performance data. Below the stage sat over 1,000 industry elites, investors, and media reporters. In the center of the front row, Victor Zhao sat upright, barely hiding the smile on his face. Everyone. I picked up the microphone. My voice was calm and clear. Standing here today, I will say only 3 things. First, Tianshu 2's performance is 4 times that of the most advanced product currently on the global market. Its power consumption is only 1/6. You can see the specific data on the screen. Gasps filled the audience. Second, I continued. From design to mass production, Tianshu 2 is 100% independently controllable. Not a single key patent comes from overseas. What that means, I believe I do not need to explain. Applause began scattered, then quickly gathered into a thunderous wave. Third, and most importantly, I raised my hand, signaling for silence. Starting today, Tianshu Technology Group will open a technology licensing platform to the entire industry. Any company with R&D capability and proper qualifications can apply to join the Tianshu ecosystem and obtain architecture licensing and deeper cooperation opportunities at different levels. We will not be monopolists. We will not be bullies who write rules only for ourselves. What we want to build is a truly open technology community that can run forward with the entire industry. I believe this is the essence of technology. This is the dream a technical person should have. The audience fell into brief silence. Then came applause and cheers more intense and lasting than before. Countless flashbulbs lit up before me. But what I saw were faces reddened by excitement and hope. That was the look of dreams being ignited. The same look I saw 8 years ago on Vivian's face in that rented room when I drew the first blueprint for Tianshu. I smiled, put down the microphone, and walked off stage. At the celebration banquet, Victor Zhao drank until his face flushed red. Engineer Luo. Come, come. He dragged me over and insisted on clinking glasses. Today, I must toast you. 3 glasses. At least 3. Mr. Zhao, take it easy. I smiled and clinked my glass with his. The company still has a lot to handle. You cannot collapse first. I won't collapse. He slapped his chest. I, Victor Zhao, have lived half my life. Today is the most satisfying day I've ever had. You don't know those foreigners' faces were green today. Glory Group's representatives sat below with dark faces the entire time. Their CEO Pierre, his hands were shaking. Ha ha ha. I smiled but did not comment. Glory Group's reaction was expected. The release of Tianshu 2 was a devastating blow to them. Their technological advantage in the global market vanished overnight. In the next few years, their stock price and market share would inevitably suffer. But none of that had anything to do with me. I cared only about the road beneath my own feet. After the banquet ended, I refused Victor's offer to send a car and walked alone by the river. The night wind carried the smell of river water, cool against my face. My phone rang once. I picked it up. It was a message from Linda Li Shuyao. At today's launch event, my daughter called me from America. She said thank you. And I thank you too. Thank you for stopping me from taking the wrong final step. I looked at the message for a long time. In the end, I replied with one word. Some words do not need to be said. Some people deserve one chance to be forgiven. But not everyone. Some people never deserve it. Like Vivian Qin. Like Jason Jiang. Their lives had already reached every possible turning back point on the roads they chose. My life had only just begun. 1 month later, the first global developer conference of Tianshu Technology Group was held at the largest convention center in the city. Representatives from more than 300 companies across 47 countries gathered under one roof. Outside the venue, giant LED screens played Tianshu 2 advertisements on loop. The slogan I wrote personally flashed again and again. Some dreams are worth guarding for 8 years. Some technologies are worth pursuing for a lifetime. Tianshu lights your sea of stars. I stood backstage, looking through a gap in the curtain at the dark crowd and countless flashbulbs below. Victor Zhao was giving a speech at the front. The veteran businessman who had fought through decades of markets was actually so nervous today that he stuttered a little, causing laughter below the stage. I smiled and turned to the window in the rest area. Outside was the full view of the city. Neon lights glittered. Traffic never stopped. Beneath all this prosperity was a road I had paved bit by bit over 8 years. My phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Mr. Luo? A young woman's timid voice came from the other end. I am Mr. Jason Jiang's caregiver. Mr. Jiang this afternoon at the rehabilitation center, he fell from his wheelchair. His head hit the corner of the wall. He was sent to the hospital and resuscitated for 4 hours. They couldn't save him. Before he died, he asked me to call you no matter what. He said. The girl hesitated. He said, tell Adrian Luo I lost. I lost completely. He was right. Then he was gone. The other end fell silent. I held the phone and stood before the window for a very long time. The city lights outside were still brilliant. And the final sentence left by Jason Jiang, once arrogant and overbearing, was, he was right. How ironic. How pitiful. How expected. I understand. I said softly. Thank you for telling me. After hanging up, I stood in place, took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. Jason's death gave me no pleasure. Nor did it bring sadness. Only a hollow feeling that everything had finally ended. Everyone had reached the ending they deserved. Vivian Qin would spend 12 long years in prison paying for herself. Jason Jiang ended every mistake of his life with his life in a rehabilitation center. And I stood here. Alive. Stronger than ever before. This was the ending. The fairest ending for everyone. I walked back to the side of the stage. Victor Zhao had just finished his speech. Now, let us welcome with the warmest applause. Victor's voice carried unprecedented excitement and respect. The father of the Tianshu chip. The founder and chief scientist of Tianshu Technology Group, Mr. Adrian Luo. Applause surged like the tide. I straightened my collar and stepped onto the stage. The spotlight hit me, dazzlingly bright. Countless faces looked up at me from below. Some admiring. Some worshipful. Some curious. Some wanting cooperation. Some wanting to challenge me. But I saw only one person. The young woman standing at the edge of the first row in a simple white shirt, wearing a gentle smile. Her name was Emily Su, the new administrative director recruited by Yaoguang Laboratory. 3 months earlier, when she first walked into my office to deliver documents, she saw the 8-year-old startup photo on my desk and casually asked, "Engineer Luo, is this person your friend?" In the photo were 19-year-old Adrian Luo and 20-year-old Vivian Qin. Squeezed inside a rented room, making a V sign toward the camera. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then turned it over and placed it face down on the desk. "No," I said. "Just someone I stopped knowing a long time ago." Emily did not ask more. She only smiled, placed the documents down, and left. Since then, every morning, there would be a cup of hand-brewed coffee on my desk. "Engineer Luo, don't stay up too late." Every time, she said only that. I picked up the microphone, looked at the audience, and smiled. "Hello, everyone. I am Adrian Luo. Today, we will not talk about technology. We will talk about a story. A story about dreams, betrayal, and starting again." The stage lights dimmed. Behind me, the giant screen slowly displayed 2 words, Tianshu. Beneath those 2 words appeared a new line, "The sea of stars, I'll walk it with you." Emily quietly gave me a thumbs up from below. I smiled and began my speech. And this was only the beginning. The era that belonged to Tianshu, the era that belonged to me, had only just opened its curtain. The young man who swore 8 years ago in a rented room that he would build the strongest chip in the country finally built his own kingdom from the ruins. And this time, no one would ever be able to take anything from his hands again. That's all for today's story. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment.